Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we do have some folks on Facebook Live, so thank you very much for joining us. My name is Deanne Fisher. I'm the Director of Public Affairs and Customer Service with Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro. Thanks for coming today. I'm going to start off first to give everybody a little bit of education about the companies that are here today. I'm also going to say a safety moment. A lot of us in the building now, you'll see that we have reduced lighting and things like that. We're all doing our best to conserve right now as you're leaving. Also for those at home, if you're conserving, just keep in mind, be safe as you're leaving your homes and things like that if you have reduced lighting and stuff. The other thing I will say now, today we have Newfoundland Labrador Hydro here and Newfoundland Power. A lot of people out there probably wonder what is the difference. So Newfoundland Labrador Hydro, we are the company that generates most of the electricity in our province. We then pass it on over to Newfoundland Power, and they distribute it to homes and businesses across the island. So we work together, but we both have different pieces of delivering power to customers. So with us today we have Byron Chubbs, who's the with Newfoundland Power, and Byron is the Vice President of Engineering and Energy Supply. And we also have with us Rob Collett, our VP of Engineering and the Newfoundland Labrador System Operator. We're going to start off today. Rob's going to give us a little bit of a status update about what's going on in the system. Then we'll turn it over to Byron, who's going to talk a little bit about what customers can do to help and what we expect over the next 24, 48 hours. Then we'll open it up for questions. I also want to make people aware that we're going to be posting a lot of information on social media. Keep an eye out for that. But also thank you for the media for coming here today and getting this message out. So I'm now going to turn it over to Rob.
Yeah, thank you so much, Deanne. And thank you everyone for your attention to this today. As Deanne mentioned, my name is Rob Collett, and I'm the Vice President of Engineering and System Operator here at NL Hydro. And as Deanne mentioned, Hydro is primarily responsible for the supply of electricity in this province. We're the primary generator of electricity. And the situation that's arisen over the past few days has to do with electricity supply. Primarily, when we talk about supply, there's a couple of, what people would have noticed is that a few days ago we issued what we call a power watch. This was the first time this has happened since 2019. And what does a power watch mean? It means that there's a circumstance on our system that's impacting supply to the point that reserves aren't as comfortable as they typically are. Because if you can imagine our power network, we have all these transmission lines and generators, hydroelectric, Holyrood, Muskrat Falls, all these pieces come together to provide electricity for customers. And what happened is we had an issue with our plant in Bay d'Espoir. And what happened there is for the first time in its history, is that entire plant has been shut down to a phenomenon called frazzle ice. Now, what is frazzle ice? Frazzle ice is a phenomenon where, and I like to liken it to, I always think about those slushy machines you see in gas stations, essentially. And basically what that means is that, of course, our hydro plants are fed by a network of rivers and reservoirs. And what can happen is those rivers can get stirred up by sudden cold winds. And essentially what happens is that it turns into a river of slush. So if you ever tried to drink one of those gas station slushy drinks, what happens is that inevitably the ice gets stuck in your straw. And that's essentially what happened at our hydro plant, is that what happened in that circumstance is that the intakes got jammed with ice. So now we're going through a process of removing that circumstance. And so could we have foreseen this? And we could not have foreseen this happening to this extent in Bay d'Espoir. Frazzle ice happens all the time on some of the rivers in our network. We have generators in Bishop Falls on rivers where this happens frequently. But Bay d'Espoir is a standing body of water. It's a reservoir. So, and what typically happens in the wintertime is we have ice cover. But I guess with climate change and things that have happened, we see that we don't have ice covers like we used to. We get sudden wild swings in temperature. And what happened was the temperature was very warm, then all of a sudden got very cold. The sudden snap of cold weather, and severe winds stirred up this reservoir into a kind of a churn of slush, and that's exactly what happened. So for the first time since 1967, that plant is completely shut down. And because people have heard about Holyrood and Muskrat Falls, but Bay d'Espoir is actually the largest generating plant on the island. It's 600 megawatts, which is as compared to 500 at Holyrood, say. So without this supply, that landed our system in what we call the power watch, where without this immense amount of supply, we have to lean even harder on our other sources, and the reserves are not as comfortable as they typically are. So, of course, what's happened now is that with the cold temperatures setting in this weekend, demand has gotten even tighter. Last night we elevated from a power watch to a power warning. This means that our reserves have gotten to the point now where we are approaching our limit. We are asking customers to conserve. And I have Byron Chubbs here with me. He'll talk about conservation a little bit and the important difference that can make. But that's the status where we are right now. And the reason we're here today is to advise that there is a risk of a power emergency this weekend. Now, a power emergency is a circumstance where we do not have enough electricity to supply customers, and there is an opportunity for rotating outages. Now, emergency sounds like a severe event. It sounds, everyone, their minds can immediately go to Dardanelle. So please let me be perfectly clear that that is not our expectation this weekend. Dardanelle was a circumstance where we had our system entirely collapse. The generators all tripped off across the system, and piece by piece the network had to be restored. That resulted in days-long outages for all customers, or many customers, and that is absolutely not the circumstance we're going to have this weekend. Our view is that we are doing everything we can to avoid this. First of all, we're doing everything we can to avoid this emergency in the first place. The situation is that we're doing everything we can. We have bringing down as much power as we can from Muskrat Falls. People are wondering, well, what about Muskrat Falls? Is that supporting? It absolutely is. Thank goodness for Muskrat Falls this weekend, as a matter of fact. It is bringing down as much power as we possibly can to ensure stability of the system. So over the Labrador Island Link, we're getting hundreds of megawatts to keep the lights on and ensure reliable supply to the extent that we can. Also, the Maritime Link, we're arranging for imports from Nova Scotia. Normally, we're an exporter of electricity, but in circumstances like this, we can actually import energy from Nova Scotia. Of course, they have cold weathers there as well, but we're doing everything we can, and we have been successful over the past few days to get plenty of electricity from that site. But given all these circumstances, we want to be careful. And if we do find ourselves in an emergency, what does that look like? Well, first of all, we need to ensure that everyone knows that it's a controlled situation. The system is intact. The system is reliable, but we just don't have enough supply. So what that means is we're going to have controlled rotating outages. We, in a controlled manner, take certain feeders out and put certain feeders in. And Byron will tell us all about what that actually looks like. But just so everyone is clear, that's the circumstance. It is a controlled situation, and that people will be out for only a little bit of time is our expectation if they should be out at all. In terms of other situations, we talk about the fragile ice and Bay Despair. So what's going on right now? So right now we are working actively on breaking the ice loose from those intakes. We have divers in the water. If you can imagine how cold it is outside today, imagine plunging into that frigid water. We have divers from across the province convened in Bay Despair, and overnight we're using things like compressed air to break the ice loose. It's going to be a multi-day effort, but we're doing everything we can to expedite this. So our expectation is that it's going to take some time, but we're doing everything we can to get it to deliver as soon as we can. In terms of what could help, what could help avoid these interruptions? Imports. Our number one thing we're doing is that, of course, all the local generation is maximized to the extent that we can. We're bringing power down from Muskrat Falls, and we're bringing power in from Nova Scotia through these imports. So that is absolutely helping with our reliability situation. Holyrood. Holyrood is online. Holyrood is an old plant, and only one of the 3 generators are available right now. We're working actively to try to get the other 2 online as quickly as possible, but there are certainly reliability issues with that plant that we are addressing, and our crews are working their hearts out to get them back and doing the absolute best to get that plant running for us as well. So the restoration of those Holyrood units is being expedited to whatever extent we can. And the other thing, of course, is warmer temperatures. We're plunging into the cold snap. That is primarily why this risk of a power emergency is upon us. But of course, as the temperatures warm up later this week, or into the week I should say, we should see that the risk reduce as well. So that's generally the circumstance from a supply standpoint, and we'll certainly take some questions afterwards. But I'll also hand it over to Byron to let him provide some perspectives on the importance of conservation and also what it will look like from an outage standpoint should that need arise.
Okay, sorry folks, if anybody at home on the Facebook Live is having trouble hearing us, we hear that. We're in a big room and we were here predominantly for media, but wanted to make sure we got it out as many ways as possible. I would say tune in afterwards because we will try to get a video recording or something like that up on our website, but also I would say to tune into media as well. We're all here today. We're going to share the message for us as well. So I just wanted to jump in there. Apologies for that. And I'll pass it over to you, Byron, and feel free to yell.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll do my best. Thanks, Deanne. So I'm Byron Chubbs. I'm the Vice President of Engineering and Energy Supply with Newfoundland Power. As Rob mentioned, they are the primary generator in the province. We are the primary distributor in the province, so we serve electricity customers. About 87% of the customers in the province, all of our customers are located on the island portion of Newfoundland. I want to thank you all for being here. I do want to acknowledge that it is a serious situation for us and our customers. Electricity is essential every day, but especially during the cold winter temperatures that we're experiencing. We know people are relying on power to heat their homes and keep their families safe and continue daily life, and we understand that this can create stress for you. As Rob just explained, Newfoundland Labrador Hydro is experiencing a number of issues at their generating plants, which means a potential shortfall in power supply for Newfoundland Power and our customers. With Hydro issuing a power warning that took effect this morning, we are asking everyone to prepare for rotating outages. Newfoundland Power is prepared and ready to implement our emergency operating procedures for these situations, and our System Control Center will be managing this process very carefully. Rotating outages are never something that we want to do, particularly during cold winter conditions. We don't plan for the electricity system to be operated in this manner. However, we do prepare for these types of emergency situations. And our team is ready. When electricity supply runs short, there isn't enough power for every home and business at the same time. So to keep the system stable and to protect critical infrastructure, we share the available power. Simply put, everyone will take a turn in being without power for a short period so electricity continues to flow for the island. We temporarily turn off power in one neighborhood or community for a short time, then switch it back on as we turn off in another area. This controlled sharing will stabilize the grid, and we will aim to keep each outage as short as possible and to spread the impact fairly. Due to the unpredictability of the situation, we're not able to provide advance notice of exactly when you will experience an outage. However, we are targeting outage duration of 60 minutes or less. This will continue until Hydro advises Newfoundland Power that rotating outages are no longer required, if that is the case. And if we know how long a series of rotating outages is expected to last, we will share that information. One of the most important things for customers to do right now is to help by conserving energy. Reducing electricity use, even by small amounts, helps lower demand on the system. Conservation can make a real difference in reducing the number of customers that experience an outage and how long those outages last. We're asking customers, where it's safe and reasonable to do so, to lower your heating by a few degrees, to delay the use of high energy appliances when possible, such as dishwashers or clothes dryers, to reduce the use of hot water and turn off non-essential lights and appliances. We're also reaching out to our business customers and asking them to conserve as well. I saw just a post recently that the Avalon Mall has turned down their lights, so I appreciate them contributing. I know the Confederation Building is doing the same. Newfoundland Power is doing the same at our facilities, and Newfoundland Labrador Hydro are contributing in the same manner as well. We are not asking people to put their safety at risk. Any and all conservation efforts, even small ones, help support system reliability. So customers should prepare for short rotating outages and check in on vulnerable family members and neighbors. We know outages are harder in cold weather, and that's exactly why rotating outages combined with conservation are being used to prevent longer disruptions. And I want to thank our customers in advance for their patience and their conservation efforts. And everyone should watch for updates on Newfoundland Power's official media channels and Hydro's official media channels as well. And I'll just conclude by saying that every decision that we're making right now as we work through this is with our customers top of mind. Thank you very much.
I want to ask about the Holyrood generators. You said 2 of them are offline. Normally the aim is this is the time of year that you try and have all the generators online because there's usually the demand. So why are we seeing that key source of power isn't available right now?
That's right. So it's absolutely our intention to have 3 units available. So Unit 1 is online at the moment. Unit 2 experienced an interruption a few days ago, and we've been attempting to bring it back, and there's been a series of trips since then. So our team is investigating the cause of that. Our hope is that unit will be back in the coming days, but it's kind of an intermittent issue that we're investigating. Unit 3 is undergoing an overhaul. So what's going on there essentially is that the generator turbine blades, that it's basically, Holyrood works by burning oil to create steam to spin a turbine. And these turbine blades need to be replaced. And so that project will be finished at the end of this month. So the 31st is the date that's to be expected. And we are doing everything we can to expedite that at this time too.
I want to ask about imports over the 2 links. If I looked at the website, there's about 500 megawatts, I guess, coming from Muskrat Falls. That link is supposed to be up to 900 megawatts.
Right.
So why aren't we able to bring more power out over that line?
So absolutely. So the link is rated for 900 megawatts. That's the technical limit of the link. The system works when we bring power down from Muskrat Falls, we need to ensure the stability of the system, which means we have to plan for contingencies. So the question is what happens if that link were to trip, right? So what happens is that right now with that 500, 600, 700 megawatt limit is what we've seen over the past few days. That's as much as we can handle and stand the contingency of. So for example, if that link were to trip at 900 right now, it could result in a dark-and-L situation because the system could go unstable. It's too big of a loss of supply in an instant for the system to recover. Because basically our system consists mostly of these big, slow hydroelectric units that are very slow to respond. They take like 10 seconds. And what happens is that if we lose power over a link like that, we need an instantaneous response. And that just doesn't happen. That's why we have things like under-frequency load shedding. So that's the technical limit that can flow at this time. But the more load on the system, the more we can push, which is helpful.
So what happens if the link were to trip, a bipole link? If the whole mill were to go down this afternoon,
Yep.
what would happen?
The system would remain stable. So that's why we would adhere to that limit. So absolutely. So that would be another loss of supply. So that would push us into a power emergency, and there would be rotating outages, absolutely. But that would be a controlled situation. The system would remain intact, and we would work with Newfoundland Power to rotate customers at that time. So there would be a larger number of customers because that's another loss of supply. But it would be, again, a controlled rotation.
Because of the climate change issues that you folks are facing, you mentioned at Bay of Spirit and Frazzle Ice, does that indicate that we may not see the 900 megawatt testing on the Lil this winter?
No, our intention is to complete that test in March. What will happen there is that when we export more to Nova Scotia, what happens is we have 2 links to the island, of course, 1 link up to Labrador and 1 link over to Nova Scotia. And what happens is if we were to lose the Labrador Island link, we can instantaneously cut off our exports to Nova Scotia. So that helps to keep things stable. So we have a sudden big loss of supply with the Lil, absolutely. But then instantly we can trip the maritime link and curb exports. So what happens is we can push a larger amount of power out to Nova Scotia during that test. And therefore, we can send up to 500, say, if we wanted to. That way, only 400 will be lost on the island itself, and the generators on the island could withstand that kind of contingency.
So how much are you relying right now on imports from the Maritimes, and what are the limits there? Is it a supply from the Maritimes? Is it the line itself?
Yep.
What's the...
No, the maritime link is rated for 500 megawatts, so there's lots of capacity there. And what happens is that we do normally export to Nova Scotia. So what we've been doing is that we've been sourcing, our energy marketing team goes around to New England, to Quebec. We even were able to swing some recapture power from Churchill Falls all the way around and back through Nova Scotia by booking transmission reservations, they're called. The trouble is that these reservations are what we call non-firm, meaning that we can only count on them for a few hours. We have to keep checking in to see if they are still available because those transmission lines can become congested. Those sources could trip off, for example. So it's been working very well over the past few days. We've gotten up to a couple hundred megawatts of imports, or certainly more than 100 megawatts, I should say. And our expectation is for that to continue. We're continuing to source whatever we can. So it is a significant a portion of the picture in terms of keeping things reliable this weekend.
You mentioned thank goodness for Muskrat Falls, a phrase that you don't hear a lot. But what would the situation be on the island if Muskrat Falls didn't exist and you didn't have access to that power?
Right. So right now we are seeing about well, I guess at our peak, the peak situations we'll see 700 or more megawatts. We may even push more than 700 megawatts over the Lille this weekend if required in an emergency situation. And if that's as permitted while ensuring stability, I should say. So we'll always adhere to that limit to make sure there's never a risk of instability. But that's 700 megawatts of our picture. So right now, I think we can withstand, 1,400 megawatts of supply on the island right now. About 700 of that comes from Muskrat Falls. So almost half of the capacity that we're enjoying right now, that's keeping our system together, is coming from Muskrat Falls.
I think you spoke to that with potential rolling blackouts, but I guess there would be no ability to give a schedule of where those might happen at certain times. I'm sure that's a question a lot of people will have, if there will be kind of a schedule release. Can you just speak a little bit to why that's not possible?
Yes, it's a very difficult thing to do. The load on the grid changes fairly dynamically over time, and this is, it would be a power emergency situation, so it's hard to do it in a planned fashion. If you were to try to manage the grid in that fashion, we would need to take more customers off at once because you're forecasting it over a longer period of time. So the way we approach is we want to minimize the number of customers that are impacted by an outage, and to do so, we're not able to provide advance notice. So that's how we approach it.
Sorry if you were going to add something.
And I was just going to add that I guess our expectation is that the tightest pinch on the system will start this evening, right? This is the coldest part of the cold snap, kind of starts tonight and runs into Monday. So that's kind of when demand will be at its highest, right? I mean, so that's kind of the area of biggest risk. And of course, we are going to work to bring in exports as we can. But that, of course, would be our largest window of exposure when it came to a risk of a power emergency. So, and that's what we're asking, is people to be ready for this. You know what I mean? We're hoping it won't happen. There's a good chance it won't happen. But of course, there's some probability that we could have this power emergency situation. So if there's anything simple you can do, if you have a generator and you wanted to try it out, make sure it works and make sure you can work it safely, great to do. If you want to, ensure you have flashlights, ensure your phones are charged, just the simple things you can do to be ready for such an eventuality.
Are you not able to, Rob, in real time monitor the systems? Holy cow, we're 50 megawatts away from power emergency status, put out a notice, everybody, shut her down quickly or we're going to have to go to emergency status. Do you not monitor that, able to monitor that?
Well, I think that's kind of exactly the situation we're in right now. I guess we're kind of looking ahead to the next couple of days. And our forecasts show that if we can secure these imports, we're going to be okay. We can get through this. But like I said, we can only ensure those a few hours in advance. So we don't know for certain that we will have all of this capacity available to us for the full set of the coming days. So this is kind of the best opportunity right now, is to make sure everyone is ready, that we're going to ensure that the people are ready should this happen. And we will, of course, through our notification protocol, let people know as soon as possible if we do end up in a situation, or even when we're forecasting a situation where we see this happening.
Yeah, so we're in pretty close contact, on a regular basis. As Hydro's monitoring the supply situation, they will let us know if there will be a shortfall. We will be able to notify customers that we will be moving to rotating outages over a period of time, so we should be able to give a time frame of when that would occur. We can't tell, precisely when a particular customer will see an outage, but you'll know the period of time when this should be occurring.
Because that was one of the greatest beefs in Dark NL. I think we all had like 5 minutes notice, that rotating outages were coming, and
Yeah.
that's what killed that whole situation.
No,
Generally, you can't say where they're going to be, but is the whole network, the whole island, susceptible to rotating outages if you do go to that stage, or do you just concentrate on higher density areas where you have your greater impact?
Yeah, essentially, the whole island, all of our customers could experience a rotating outage at any time. We do have certain locations, like hospitals, for example. They are not part of the rotation plan, but the majority of customers could experience an outage right across the island, and it would happen kind of, I think we'd look to customers as being fairly spread out across the island at any given time, not in one area, because when you return power to customers, the homes do cool a bit over that period of time, and we experience a phenomenon called cold load pickup. So when we restore power, there's a higher demand on the system than when we actually shut power off. And so we do try to spread it out as much as we can so we don't overload any one part of the system at any given time.
What have the conversations been with big industrial customers? Have you asked, for example, Long Harbor to shut down in order to give extra capacity to keep the system running?
No, absolutely. So this is a good chance to talk about what we have called, contracts called capacity assistance agreements. So right now we have them with Corner Brook Pulp and Paper and with Vale, for example. So right now Corner Brook is giving us over 90 megawatts of supply. Almost all of their supply is coming in to support the grid. And same thing with Vale, they have backup generation they have online. So absolutely, those industrial customers are part of the solution and part of the team that's helping to ensure reliability.
This is happening over a weekend. Does that make it easier because you don't have businesses that are up and running, or does it make it harder because everyone's at home and they're doing cooking and washing and all the things that you're asking people to cut back on?
No, I think it's a help because on the weekdays you have more defined peaks. Everyone kind of gets up the same time, everyone gets a shower around the same time, kettles come on the same time. So you see a morning and evening peak that kind of arrive as a typical day. So of course on a weekend everyone is a little more on their own schedule kind of thing, so it's a little smoother of course. But it is going to be colder this evening for sure, and I mean, it's a great, I don't know if it's a great day for a barbecue, but it would certainly help us if you wanted to barbecue this evening in terms of avoiding use of your home oven, for example.
Is the 60-minute time frame, is that something you're sticking with? You said you're going to try to keep them to roughly 60 minutes. If rolling blackouts are to start,
Yeah,
what do customers need to know about the time frame?
right, and so rotating outages would be controlled from Newfoundland Power's System Control Center. We are striving to achieve less than 60 minutes. Our target is 30 minutes, but operationally we may have some delays in restoring power to customers, so we are saying less than 60 minutes with a goal being 30 minutes.
And it's important we do that too, because it's in our best interest to make sure the houses don't cool down. If houses were to cool down a lot, all the heaters would kick in when that house were to come back on, driving what we call cold load pickup. So that's a phenomenon we want to avoid. So as quick as we can rotate, we will work to do so.
The main purpose for Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro is to keep the lights on, to make sure there's enough electricity in the system so that, what would you say to customers who feel that Hydro has let them down, or has the potential to let them down because you weren't able to manage the system in a way that's able to keep the lights on?
I think the feelings of frustration are valid in terms of what's going on the system, but I suppose in our defense this is an unprecedented event. This is a whole hydro plant going down. Hydro always ensures, or we work to ensure we always have reserve. We always work to have enough generation on at any one time. And we understand that from time to time generators will go out. You know, with the Holyrood situation, we do have times when we have 2 units out of service, and it's typically not an issue. But when you wipe out an entire plant for the first time in history, and in 60 years, it's not something that we would plan for. Especially for a place where we never saw this frazzle ice. It only happened once before, a little bit kind of thing, not to this extent. So no, we certainly apologize. We certainly understand people's frustrations, but please know we're doing everything we can, and part of what we do too is looking for new sources of generation as well. We're looking to add new capacity to the system to avoid this in the future, to allow us to retire Holyrood and put some more reliable generation in place.
Can you tell us what's happening at Bay d'Espoir today? You mentioned there's divers in the water. Have you had to call in for outside help? What is it you folks are doing there today?
Yes, we apologize for anyone looking for a compressor because we have most of them in the province shipped to Bay d'Espoir as we speak, because the compressors help to loosen up the ice. So yes, it's I think we're going to post some videos on our social media of just the situation there, and basically you see these holes in the ice where these divers are jumping in, and essentially they're using hand tools and compressed air and those kinds of things to break these loose. To get a sense of things, these intakes are 20 feet by 40 feet, and our last measurement showed 3 feet of ice in some places on these. So can you imagine being down in the frigid water with a hand tool hacking away this ice? And that's what we've been doing, and we've been making good progress, but it's an appreciable job in very difficult circumstances, and we got to make sure we do this safely. This is a bad situation, but it would be unacceptable for any harm to come to anyone as a result of this. So making sure this happens safely, making sure that our crews are on site, so things like heating spaces, the people down in Bay d'Espoir, we heard about, they're doing the best to look after the workers down there. People are dropping off food, which is wonderful. It's really coming together for people across the province, kind of in this place, in this emergency, to help everyone else. So it's
One of the greatest complaints we got last time was the 1,000 homes would be without power at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, yet something like an industrial park would have full power. They're shut down and lights ablaze, just like, normal operation. And a lot of people would say, why wouldn't you target that area in an off time when the impact wouldn't be so significant as 1,000 homes?
Yeah, absolutely. And we are reaching out to business customers, and even through this exercise now, we want to implore our business customers to reduce their consumption, to turn off their lights wherever they can. In a lot of cases, business customers in industrial areas are on the same circuit as a residential area as well. So it's hard to target one without the other. We don't have separate individual circuits for each of those residential and commercial areas. So it's a challenging thing to kind of subdivide the system in a way, in that kind of manner. So we're asking our business customers, please, where you can, reduce your consumption, turn off your lights, just as our residential customers are asking them to conserve as well.
Is there any working timeline for when the plant could be up and running again, or how the process is going picking up the ice?
Yeah, it's a very dynamic situation, is all I can say, in terms of the demand, the forecast. The forecast is changing in terms of the weather. The Holyrood situation is changing by the moment in terms of troubleshooting these units. And in Bay d'Espoir, we're still trying to get a sense of that overall timeline. There are 4 large penstocks, and I was talking to someone at work about it. They said it's like the area of 4 school buses we're trying to break loose. And so far we've been working on one of them over the past day, and we got about, I think, a quarter of it done. So it's going to take some time, but we're hoping that through this exercise of blasting them with this compressed air overnight to help jar a lot of it loose, that the going is going to get easier. It could be several days, and of course, as the temperature warms up as we get into the week, that's going to help us too. So piece by piece, and also as the temperature cools down in the Maritimes, it's going to help us to ensure that those imports are more available as well. So again, all those moving pieces, no real sense of timeline, but we know that it's going to be a number of days, and we're going to work around the clock to make sure that we do get it as done as expediently as we can.
How close are we to that power emergency situation? Like, what is the buffer right now?
Right now, we are fine right now because we have for the next number of hours we have the imports secure, right? So I think around 6 o'clock, I think is the next window where we're looking to renew those imports, and I guess that's changing by the minute too. So our teams are on that, and they may have already secured them, and that's things we're working on. So we do have a buffer for now, and we expect to have a buffer throughout the weekend, but we cannot guarantee given the short-term view on those imports.
Everybody good? Thank you, everybody. And I just want to reiterate a little bit of what Rob just said, and that is everybody's working really hard right now amongst our teams. Our neighboring utilities in the Atlantic provinces are being really great, and we're trying to secure every bit of electricity possible. So it's a very fluid situation. So what you're happening now versus what's happening at 9 p.m. tonight versus tomorrow morning, it could be different. We ask you to stay tuned to media and to our official social media channels. We will be pushing out updates regularly, so you will have information, and we will tell you as much information as we know at the time. As you said, right now we're in a power warning. We will follow our protocols to make sure customers have time to prepare, but we appreciate your patience. We're also aware that there was some audio issues with the Facebook Live, so we apologize for that, but we will do our best to try and post some sort of recording of this online so folks can play it back. And I'm sure media friends who are here today are helping us out with that. So please stay tuned to media, to the radio, to our social media. We're going to keep you updated with real-time information. And thank you, everybody, for your patience today.
Thanks so much.